everybody, to the Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network Friday edition, the best edition. You're in the right spot here as we get you into your Memorial Day weekend on the Afternoon Sports Drive. A lot to get to here today, and I am live over here at Bad Brad's Barbecue, one of our favorite places to be. And if you're staying in town for the holiday weekend, don't forget Bad Brad's for dining in or, of course, taking home. And, you know, if you're having family or friends over, some of you for the first time in a long time, you can call in and take Bad Brad's home for a Memorial Weekend get-together out on the patio maybe, or just a family reunion picnic at the park. A lot of good stuff, a lot of great food for this amazing Memorial Day weekend that we have coming up here. Bad Brad's is your one-stop shop. Everything's going to take care of you over here. Everybody and their lovely staff will help out and get you whatever you need. Patrick Wheeler and Levi Peckinpah is with me here today. Zach is out for the weekend, and Levi, what is happening, man?
Man, it is another day in paradise, especially since it's Friday. It's definitely another day in paradise, and I'm also trying to figure out of the various things that could take my money, what am I going to allow to take my money? Because last night I have very bad sleeping problems, so I stood up very late. I bought HBO Max, so I'm going to try that out and see how that works. I was thinking about maybe a couple different services, and then I also saw today, and we talked about it a little bit before we went on air, the Chicago White Sox releasing new jerseys, and comes with a new cap and everything, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, it took all of my power to not just launch my money at them to get a jersey and a hat, because goodness, out of all the things, sometimes Nike designs some duds when it comes to jerseys. I believe it was the Boston jerseys that were designed for earlier in the year, like not the white ones, the yellow ones. Those look awful, but these new Chicago White Sox jerseys look amazing. South side with the shy on the hat. I was about to just ready to just give them like $300 and just tell them to give me a jersey because those all look incredible. And I mean, why not make one of the best jerseys in the MLB for one of the best teams in the MLB?
Yeah, they're really slick. I knew that when I saw those, you were most likely going to hop on and grab one as quickly as possible, and I can't say I blame you. However, you talk about, and everybody kind of had the same opinion on the Red Sox jersey not being all that great to the eye, but the visual. But I liked it. I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was. Let's just say I came around to it. My first glance was like, but after a while, it looked kind of cool. So I'm all for switching it up a little bit every now and again.
It might be,
but I tell you what.
It's probably like kind of how I was with the Chicago Bulls Art Deco. Remember when Zach got on that about me?
Yeah.
It's probably like how I was with that.
I do remember that. Yeah, I remember that. The best ones, though, that I'm telling you, St. Louis has their Saturday on the road, and it's that powder baby blue. Oh, man, I'm telling you. They killed that. But I will say that the White Sox jerseys, man, those look amazing. That just fits that team, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The whole team's like young, stylish, slick. Why not get a jersey to match? And you had them rocking it. So I definitely think they're one of the most interesting teams to watch right now in all of sports. Because you never know what's going to happen game in and game out with that talent. So, yeah, I like how you kind of just said that it wasn't like, what am I going to spend my money on? Like, you had already decided that you already have something else in line that you're going to spend money on. There's no chance that it's going to be like let me save some money here. No, you're like, I'm just trying to find the next thing because I already know it's coming, so let me go ahead and figure out what I want to spend my money on this weekend.
Yeah, it's realistic. I mean, because think about it. Money ain't going to be here forever, but enjoyment out of what I'm going to spend my money on will last for a good chunk of time. So I'm just sitting there. I'm waiting in the wings. Something's eventually going to pop up, and I've got a little something saved back. So if those jerseys pop up at a decent price, which we know for some reason MLB jerseys are the priciest out of all the jerseys in sports. So if that thing drops at a low price, expect me to jump on that with the quickness, man. Because for some reason, like, you can get NFL jerseys for pretty cheap. You can get NBA jerseys for pretty cheap. MLB jerseys, it doesn't matter if the dude's retired, if he's moved to a different team. The jersey's going to cost an arm and a leg to get one. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it really is. It always is that way with MLB for whatever reason. We got a lot to get to here in the show today on this Friday. We're going to get to some football news coming up here in just a little bit. But we're going to start off with Oklahoma State baseball, which is scheduled first pitch just under an hour away. Hopefully that does end up starting on time. And you actually have baseball at 4 o'clock against West Virginia in the Big 12 tournament. That was supposed to happen last night, obviously a no-go with the rain. And then at 4 o'clock you have the Cowgirls softball beginning hosting their Super Regional against Texas. That is here in Stillwater. So a lot of action to keep up with at the exact same time. Around here, 4 o'clock's a good hour if you're an OSU fan because you get a double dip, and that should be a lot of fun. We'll keep our eyes on both of those games. For OSU baseball coming in against West Virginia, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, Levi, but this is a team in West Virginia that we saw they can put up a fight if they have the right guy on the mound. But those other two games, especially that final one where OSU pounds away and grabs 21 runs, I mean, that one wasn't even close. And I'm not expecting a ton of middle ground here. I think you're either going to see, kind of a one-sided win for Oklahoma State. I'm talking really one-sided, or maybe just a really low-scoring game, something like that. I don't see a ton of, let's go back and forth type thing. Maybe you grab a run late. But I'm like everybody else that's an Oklahoma State fan, confident in where this offense is, and it just goes to show that when you deal with injuries like this team has on the pitching staff, because I mean, let's be honest, they've really had their fair share and then some when it comes to injuries on those arms. That goes all the way through. When you lose a guy for a nice chunk at the end of the season like Parker Scott and are only able to really utilize him out of the bullpen and still come away with victories, that's big time. You got a lot of depth in that lineup, and I think that's what, if you circle every team in the Big 12 and say, why they're, when they come in against Oklahoma State, what are they really focused on? It's not so much the pitching anymore as it is how do we get 1 through 9 out, because that's going to be a challenge for the next 3.5 hours.
Yeah, that's what will be the challenging part. And for this Oklahoma State team, I'm also very confident against West Virginia. I'm just wondering if maybe West Virginia could be a little, I guess the word might be spiteful about how things ended with the run rule. You're losing 21-11 and just getting dominated to a point. I wonder if there might be a little glimmer in the back of their mind that says, yeah, that happened to us a good chunk of time ago, but now we are a different team. We are trying to ride some different momentum. But for Oklahoma State, they have ran into their fair share of problems, but it seems like now up to this point, they, after a while of hitting a big rough patch of a lot of highs and a lot of lows, it just seems like they are finally finding their footing again. And what do you know? It's the perfect time to do it, especially when it comes to Big 12 tournament play. This is when you were needing to hit your stride, and it just seems like for Oklahoma State, even if West Virginia maybe wanted to try to come for a little bit of revenge and maybe back for a little bit of a hit, saying we are not that team that got run ruled. We are a lot better than what we were. I feel like Oklahoma State is just finally hit their stride to a point to where even if West Virginia, because I think you're right, if they come with the right pitching, West Virginia could be it could be a scary opponent, could be a little bit challenging, and maybe you have that low scoring affair. But I think that this will be one where Oklahoma State, you're just going to see the bats go pretty insane today as everything kind of clicks.
Yeah, and you're right. This is a team that's getting back to where they were when they were dominating early on in the season a little bit, coming in feeling good about their offense. But you look at all the power that these guys have, and you really have to credit what we saw the other day as well. I think it just is big against Oklahoma when you're able to come in, have that ninth inning like you have, and you end up giving up 5 runs. I mean, you go in, you're up 9-0, you end up giving up 5 runs. Well, you can credit that offense for giving you that cushion, and they're so important, obviously, to everything this team does. So they're going to be ready to go, no doubt. West Virginia coming in, and like you said, losing 21-11 like losing by 10 always is never, or more is something you never forget about. But getting run ruled in that fashion, you're right. That's something that they're not going to forget about anytime soon. And it happened quite a while ago, but it's absolutely the forefront of the mind. Is like, look, we remember what happened last time, and we know that that offense is capable of doing something like that. But it's true as well that when you get into the Big 12 tournament, anything can happen, as they are in all postseason tournaments. I'm actually right now, Levi, watching Ole Miss shut out Vanderbilt in the top of the 8th inning in the SEC tournament. Wow. They're up 4-0. So Vanderbilt actually is human after all. Oklahoma State got them once this year, but that was that final game of that series. But they're down 4-0. So it just goes to show anything can happen in a conference tournament right now. And again, though, you got to applaud Oklahoma State for being able to come out and really show, especially in Game 1, that they still have everything they need to be a force in this league all the way through the tournament. And if out of all the teams left, West Virginia is the one that, if I'm being honest, I would say, all right, I'm confident playing them right now. It's much better than going in and having to face Texas at this point. You can at least maybe push that off for another game if you can get this one out of the way with a W. So that's important for them because it allows them to keep rolling, get the arms back where they want, and find a way to get it done on the mound with the amount of injuries they're dealing with. There's just a lot of impressive stuff coming out of this OSU team to find a way to win, which is really what they've been doing this whole second half of the year.
Oh, yeah, that is truly what they've been doing. The only thing for me that also spikes up is just that West Virginia, for these past couple games, they are now on a little bit of a winning streak. The momentum has finally swept back their way. So kind of it seems like they went and finally were able to get all their momentum back, and they are on the right track. The thing is, I feel like just Oklahoma State is just on too much of an upswing. They have already climbed the mountain a little bit higher, and I really think the momentum that they've been able to build over the past little bit of time, this past couple weeks, I think it's just going to be a little bit too much for West Virginia. And I kind of agree with you. Like, if there's, out of all the other games and all the other teams that are in the Big 12 conference, that West Virginia would be the one you can kind of, I guess you could say, relax a tiny bit, but you don't want to put yourself off guard because, like you just said, Vanderbilt right now is getting built, and they're one of the top teams in the country. That shows you that at any type of moment, if you don't come prepared, you're going to get that leg sweep, and you're going to be the one on the ground. But I think with Oklahoma State and what we've been saying and how they've been this past little bit of time, they've hit the ground running. They've hit the spots that they needed to hit. So they are, it seems like, just too much on the upswing for a team like West Virginia to go up against.
Yeah, and what a shame it would be if Vanderbilt does go on to lose this, for anyone that likes college baseball and the best of the best, because obviously the winner of this one would advance to play Arkansas, which is arguably the best team in the country. And then if we didn't get to see a Vanderbilt-Arkansas showdown, that'd be unfortunate. That's kind of where we're headed.
Arkansas, Vanderbilt, that's one of those where it's like, that's prime time ESPN, man. Even though I don't know if that would be, because I don't know if ESPN has a problem with college baseball, but that would be one where I'm plastering it at like the 7-8 o'clock time slot, and I'm just promoting it like it's the best of the best of college baseball. Sit down and enjoy, because it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be weird if Vanderbilt loses, but hey, that's what happens in the world of college baseball. You don't show up one day and you're going to get beat.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go to prediction time here to round out our discussion on OSU baseball. I'm going to go Oklahoma State wins it 6-3. One of those games where you're able to put together some runs early if you're Oklahoma State, and then, of course, get a couple of guys hot maybe in the final innings, and you scatter around a few runs maybe on the pitching side, but I still like them to be able to double up. And my guy that I'm focusing on today, Carson McCusker, last time out he went over 3, didn't have a hit. I think he bounces back in a big way, because coming into that game against Oklahoma, he was really hot, and I don't think that's faded away by any means. So he's the one I'm watching out for at 4 o'clock, starting there to have a huge game today.
I can completely go with that to kind of make the full turnaround and get for McCusker to get all that momentum and just to come out swinging. I think makes too much sense. I'm going to go Oklahoma State. I think I'm going to go 8-2. I think that this is going to be where Oklahoma State can truly bring in a lot of guys, and I think this is where you're going to get some really good hits. And because I think the buy or sell, what was it yesterday, was where you're going to have like multiple guys with several hits. I think you're going to see the bats really going. And I think my guy, I'm going to go Kate Cavanis. I think that you're going to see Encarnacion Strand do what he usually does. He's going to go and be hand, but you're going to need your couple guys that can go out right behind him and just back him up to kind of enforce what Oklahoma State does. I really think that you're going to see him step up and be that second guy that can help fill in and that can fully swing the momentum and kind of just overpower West Virginia to kind of silence them at a point.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see what they do without Houston Morrill in this first game. You know, we know that he's injured, and that's obviously a big blow to Oklahoma State, but it's more so a blow to the leadership factor, everything that he brings to the table. He's kind of that calming presence, too, when you're like, man, we need to calm down here. We need to get a hit. He's kind of your guy you go to, so I want to see how they respond without him being in there. But I'm telling you right now that the depth of this lineup is something that can absorb injuries on the go, even with someone like Houston Morrill, and that's pretty rare across any team.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those that is one thing that you see when it comes to various teams, that if you have that type of quality in a team where you can just take one hit, someone goes down, you can have another guy step up, that means you got a special squad. And especially for this Oklahoma State team, we brought so many guys back. There's a lot of guys that have been waiting for opportunities like this, and that's just the thing. It's kind of one of the, I guess you could say, would it be bad, great things to have is to have too many great people. Would that be a bad, good thing? Is where you have so many guys that are ready for the opportunity that can step up in any type of moment. So, unfortunately, you have one guy fall, but you have so many others that would be willing to step up in that opportunity, and I think we'll be able to succeed tonight against West Virginia.
This is the Afternoon Sports Drive. Patrick Wheeler and Levi Peckinpah with you on this Friday. When we come back to the NFL, Lamar Jackson had some words about potentially wanting to be a Raven for life, he said. Is that good news for Baltimore? Find out next on the Afternoon Sports Drive.
Oh, screaming out at the top of my lungs, 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 tell the world that I found the one. Whoa, my baby's hotter than the golden sun, sun. You make my heart beat like a bass drum, 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 drum. Listen to me now. I've been touched by an angel.
Welcome back into the Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Friday edition. Patrick Wheeler and Levi Peckinpah here with you live at Bad Brad's Barbecue. If you're getting out of town for a Memorial weekend, take Bad Brad's with you to the lake or out camping, maybe to a state park, wherever you're getting away to on this long holiday weekend. Make sure you have Bad Brad's along for the ride. They have meats by the pound and sides by the pint or the quart, and those are perfect for your takeaways and your getaways. So wherever you go, make sure you stop by Bad Brad's first. You can call in, and you can have it ready for you waiting to pick up, of course, or you can just come in and enjoy the atmosphere here at the restaurant and then be on your way to whatever you're doing for this Memorial Day weekend. Bad Brad's is sure to make it a memorable one. Live over here, Patrick Wheeler and Levi Peckinpah. Ole Miss up 4-1. Vanderbilt grabbed one run here, but they've got two outs in the bottom of the eighth and not looking great. And how about another upset brewing in the seventh inning? I think it maybe just moved on to the eighth, if I'm correct. And Texas Tech is losing to Kansas State in the game before here, Oklahoma State's matchup. And with that being the case, I would have to guess now you're probably looking at about a 4:30-ish start time for OSU baseball, because you're going to end up having a couple more innings here and then about a 30-minute break in between games to finish up getting the field ready. So most likely you're looking at a 4:30 start time, somewhere around there, give or take a few minutes for OSU baseball. Just a heads up there. You'll get your 4 o'clock normal start time for Oklahoma State softball, since they're in their super regional here in Stillwater. All right, so a story out of the NFL. Today, Lamar Jackson. We all know that he is in line for a big contract here pretty soon. He certainly earned that opportunity to get that extension. The Ravens have made it abundantly clear they want him to be the guy, and Lamar Jackson responded and said he wants to be a Raven for life. And I thought to myself pretty quickly, all right, we hear that from a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of players, in fact. When they have had a good start to their career with whatever team they're with, they think to themselves, you know what, I want to be here forever. And sometimes, Levi, it's puzzling because you do see guys that are on teams that are not very good that even say that, right? We've heard that from a bunch of different guys, quarterbacks especially at times. It's like, yeah, I want to be an insert bad team here, Detroit Lion for a while, for life. I want to be a Chicago Bear for life. And sometimes you're like, okay, whatever you say there. But Lamar Jackson says he wants to be a Raven for life. And so does it make sense for maybe not even the Ravens as a whole, but for both parties here? And I'm going to tell you that I personally don't think it makes complete sense for Baltimore and maybe not even for Lamar Jackson. I'll tell you why. Because the stats are fine. We know that with Lamar. As far as why it might not be a great idea for Baltimore, the playoff record, as we know, with Lamar has kind of been the big knock, right? Like he's got one win in the playoffs. And the other part that I've had an issue with him in his game, too, is that he's just not all that clutch. He's 1-6 when the Ravens trail at halftime. There hasn't been that huge comeback factor that he's been able to have as well. And nothing that he has personally done yet in the playoffs, if you're going down to brass taxes here, completely warrants a huge payday and an extension. Now, all the other stuff he's done in the regular season, MVP, we know he's definitely an elite quarterback. There's no denying that. But there are some missing factors, and some of them are pretty big. So if the Ravens were to go all in with an 8-year contract, let's just say 8 years, throw it out there. Let's say they go big time and they want to lock him up for a while, and then they throw him a lot of money. How long into that 8 years do they ultimately show some regret because they can't end up winning multiple playoff games, or they can't get a Super Bowl or win to a Super Bowl? Because win a Super Bowl, nothing tells me that anytime soon they can get past Kansas City or Buffalo, because those are the two teams in the AFC that you're looking at and thinking to yourself, the Ravens, you look at all the other teams in the AFC and say, I got a pretty good chance against mostly everybody. There's not a lot of other teams that you would probably pick against them. Here and there you might. But Kansas City and Buffalo, for the foreseeable future in the AFC, look like two teams that you would expect to be there in the end, and nothing they've done so far, even last year. When they beat Tennessee, that was all great. That was good for Lamar. Awesome job. But when he got into Buffalo, you knew it was going to probably take a miracle to get past them. Same thing would be the case this year. Now, the good part for Baltimore, as we know, Levi, they bolstered up their wide receiver position a little bit. They win the draft, did some work there. They got Sammy Watkins. That remains to be seen how they use him. So if you keep everybody healthy, maybe you give them a chance. And so that's why it's not, I don't think, a marvelous idea for Baltimore. And as far as Lamar Jackson, too, if I were him, and I understand he's embraced the culture. He's embraced the idea of what it is to be a Baltimore Raven, what they like to do. But if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm thinking to myself, all right, we got a couple wide receivers. We still haven't made a big splash in free agency, though, with a wide receiver, a guy that's already proven himself. We continue to run an offense that really, really focuses on the run game. And while I know that I'm really good at that, I also understand that I got to throw the ball more, and we have to throw the ball more as an offense and open it up a bit more, too. And so if I were him, I would be a little cautious about sticking around for 8 years. A lot of that has to do with the coaching staff, too. Does he really like everyone that's in place there? Has Greg Roman done, utilized him to the best of his abilities in that game? So this is one of those situations. Usually, I'm all good with guys saying, hey, I want to be a insert team here for life, and that's fine, and usually don't have a problem with it. But this one, I could see issues potentially popping up for both sides.
I think you could potentially see issues if the offensive scheme for Lamar Jackson doesn't improve. If you're still trying to rely on what happened last year, then it's a no-go. But you got to also look at what Lamar Jackson's done within 3 years. Year one, it was stepping in after it was the official Joe Flacco replacement. He played, 8 games and then lost in their first opportunity in the playoffs. He's made the playoffs all 3 years, it went from being a rookie going in for Joe Flacco to MVP to then finding himself out as a player a little bit more while still trying to figure out the Baltimore system. I think it's honestly a good play by both squads. I assume with Lamar Jackson wanting to get the money in Baltimore, I assume Baltimore can give him the most money.
Sure.
I'm going to assume based on what various things that they can give him, he gets the most money there. It makes too much sense on Lamar Jackson's end. And for Baltimore, it also makes too much sense because it's another one of those situations where who else do you have? I mean, if you let go Lamar Jackson, if you're still going to be running on that run-heavy scheme, not a lot of other QBs are going to want to go to that because a lot of other QBs are trained to be, pass first half the time. And Lamar has the ability to where he can pass. He's a jack of all trades. He can do whatever you want. And the free agent's not coming, and that has to do with the scheme again. Everything is going to revolve around, for Baltimore, you've got your franchise QB. Lamar Jackson is a franchise QB. He's one of the up-and-coming next-gen QBs that'll be the face for the league forever. The problem is it's the front office and it's the coaching. That just seems, at least from my eyes, what looks like the problem. Because Lamar Jackson has proved himself. He's finally won a playoff game. And that game against Tennessee, on offense, it was Lamar Jackson getting it done. It was Lamar Jackson literally putting out all the stops and everything in his arsenal to take out Tennessee. And then the defense was able to back him up on the back end. And unfortunately for the Baltimore game, Lamar Jackson tried to do all he did. But at that time, the weapons turned to nothing. The weapons could not help. The defense could not help because Josh Allen was also operating on a big level during that game. So besides Lamar Jackson, not really anybody else was operating on a high level in that Buffalo game. In the darkest moments for Baltimore, it's been Lamar Jackson, even though some of the previous games, because I remember the MVP year, that playoff game was not great. But this past season, in the rough moments in the playoffs, Lamar Jackson was still doing his all. He was, be honest, trying to pull a Patrick Mahomes Herculean performance like he tried to do in the Super Bowl to try to push his team forward, but it failed because he wasn't surrounded by the right pieces and maybe the right coaching. They got a lot of pieces. Whether it is Sammy Watkins, Tylan Wallace, Rashad Bateman, they've got wide receivers. Wide receiver core, even though the front office, they said how they were kind of disgusted by people criticizing their wide receiver core. You went out and got 3 wide receivers. That shows truly how much confidence they had in that wide receiver core. Nice trying to cover yourself. I really think that it has to be something with the front office and with coaching. And not to say that the system that they've been running right now has been terrible. It's actually been really good. You've been able to do a lot of great things in the run game. You just have to be able to open it up more to allow Lamar Jackson to pass because he has a great arm. He can make some of those passes, but if you keep him restricted, you're going to keep your team restricted. You got to be able to open it up more to let him be able to operate more as a QB instead of see him as the guy of like, QB that can go for 1,000 yards in the rushing. He's much more than that. And it's if Baltimore can open up the playbook a little bit more and you can do more things, that's when you're going to get bigger signings in free agency. That's when you're going to get these guys operating on a better level. That's when you're going to be discussing some of these playoff games, whether it is another win later on down the line this year, not as a fluke. You're going to be able to see these in a different light if you're able to expand things to allow Lamar Jackson to operate a little bit more. If they can do that, then it is completely fine. But if they are going to kind of stay in the trench and basically go the Pete Carroll approach to where it's my way or the highway, then Lamar Jackson is in a bad situation. From what it seems like with Harbaugh there, it seems like it's a good environment, and it seems like Lamar Jackson's surrounded by good teammates, but it's being able to utilize these guys at the perfect opportunities. This past season in the playoffs versus Buffalo didn't utilize them properly. But if they can get a proper system where you allow a little bit more in the passing game, I think you're going to see Lamar Jackson and Baltimore operate at a bigger level than last year.
Yeah, and that's, again, why I'm saying that there should be some reservations from Lamar Jackson when it comes to signing.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't get it, if I were him, I would be going into the front office this offseason being like, guys, look, and then especially to Greg Roman. I'd be like, we have to change some things around here. As much as I love running the football, and I can do it at a elite level better than any quarterback in the game right now, this is the NFL, and we have to open up the passing game, because even if I win a game against Tennessee where, yes, I admit it, Lamar played well, but Tennessee, oh my gosh, they imploded on themselves, and the coaching was terrible. He goes into the next game against Buffalo, and he didn't play well against Buffalo. That's the thing. He did not. He had that big pick six that was not good. I think a couple interceptions in that game, if I remember correctly.
You also got to look, though, and remember, though,
it wasn't
that game, though, none of his targets were catching anything. Mark Andrews' hands were made of butter. Hollywood Brown was back in Hollywood, California, not even worrying about the game. Those targets didn't help out at all. And plus, half the time, he was on his back. He got injured halfway in what? Did they have to put in Trace McSorley? Because he got injured halfway through the game because legit no one else was really helping. It was legit.
Yeah, no.
It was Lamar Island.
Yeah, there were certainly he needed some help. I completely agree. But the best quarterbacks, okay, as we know, are going to find a way to compete. If you go back to that interception he threw, I mean, it was a 99-yard pick six. It was a bad look. It was a bad read. That's something that you can't have in that situation. That goes back to the whole clutch thing I was talking about. But so I think that there are, I'm like you. If I'm the Ravens, I'm thinking to myself, look, we know we have an elite talent at QB. But when is the point going to come where we change up our scheme? And that's why with them drafting these wide receivers that they drafted this year, it would be really unbelievable to see them stick to the same old, same old. I mean, there's just no way. If you add Rashad Bateman into the mix and eventually, possibly Tylan Wallace, Sammy Watkins, you got all these guys. If Hollywood Brown can actually wake up, which you know me, I don't really believe he can at this point. It would take a miracle. But you got all these guys, and it's like, all right, let's see what we can do, because we may go and again, I know I bring it up a lot, but last year, if you look back at that game against Kansas City, they were forced to throw the entire time, and I think that exposed them on a national level where they were dominated most of that game. They couldn't throw the football. They tried to do their whole let's run it down their throat, and that only lasted so long, about a drive, and that was pretty much it. So they do have their limitations. That's why that when Lamar says he wants to be a Raven for life, I'm thinking, and I want to know what you think about this too, but I'm thinking the Ravens are going to be like, that's exactly what we want to hear, because we want to sign him to, and my guess, would be they wouldn't have an issue going 8 to 10 years. I'm serious. You see what Patrick Mahomes did. The Ravens love Lamar Jackson so much, and because he's so young, I don't see them having any issue with trying to give, at least years-wise, a sizable contract like that of Patrick Mahomes. And obviously, I think this too, Levi, Dak Prescott kind of set the market for him the other day whenever we got official word on all his numbers and details and everything like that. So he's in a good spot to make a lot of money in that sense, but there's going to be, I think there has to be, a lot of adjustments on both sides to really make this work, because this has all of a sudden become a pretty competitive, once again, division that they're in too. If they want to be at the top, the Browns are certainly in the mix. Who knows what the Steelers are going to provide? The Bengals have to be on the rise at some point here with Joe Burrow. So I think you've got a lot of competition, and right now it's kind of do or die, because you certainly don't want to end up wasting all these early years of Lamar Jackson too. But again, the blame goes on both sides. And I'm with you. I want to see, them, now that they've got him a couple more weapons, what can he do with that this year? And I think this season for Baltimore is going to tell us quite a bit.
Yeah. For one thing, Baltimore can't be the last in passing yards. I was trying to think about it. I was like, Lamar didn't have a lot of were they the last? Yeah, they were the last. They were behind the Jets,
yep, they were.
The Patriots, if you're behind those
That's
teams.
what I'm saying. I mean,
with a guy like Lamar Jackson.
And that tells the story. Yeah, that tells a story right there. And again, it's a bunch on one side of the scheme that they run, and a lot of it on Lamar Jackson, and of course the lack of weapons. It's not a real healthy mix. Right. So you give credit for that team being able to even make the playoffs last year, but that's why you knew the limitations were going to come to light at some point, and whether it was going to be with Tennessee or a team like Buffalo that wasn't really going to have any issue exposing that.
Yeah, if you can make the adjustments to allow Lamar Jackson to pass a little bit more, then this team becomes extremely scary. At that point, that's when you open up any possibility for Baltimore, whether it is making playoff games or, heck, even going to the Super Bowl. Because there's a lot of talent on that team. Yes, they've lost a little bit in free agency because linebackers love to stay in Baltimore, become really good, and then leave. But besides that, they are a team full with what seems like half the time limitless potential. They've got so many other players on there that could break out and have a good year. If the system takes a step up, and not only do you have still some of these great marks of the run game that they've had these past couple years, but then you add a new dimension and have a better passing game, because I think they finally got a good wide receiver core. You actually have a nice veteran in Sammy Watkins that's basically seen everything. You got a couple very good rookies, a young wide receiver that's seen a lot in Hollywood Brown. You got the tight end of the future in Mark Andrews. This squad is set up to succeed. Now it's just being able for the coaches to then lay out a plan to help them operate. If we go and almost have a close to an identical type of season, you might be seeing a Baltimore head coach and OC on the chopping block soon. But I don't think that's really going to happen, because from what Harbaugh has shown in his time as a head coach in the NFL is no matter the opportunity, he's been able to adapt and turn face and turn to a new system and turn to a new scheme to help keep the Ravens relevant, even through the hard times whenever you had like players like Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, all of those big players retire. Baltimore was still around, and Joe Flacco was still a decent QB, and they were still able to keep Baltimore relative for several years. And if you've seen that even through the tough times, they were still able to seem as a relevant team, and they still had some very good passing opportunities then, and they still had very good schemes then, I have confidence that Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens will be able to have a little turning point. I mean, even if you just get Lamar Jackson 3,500 passing yards, I believe that is the most that he would have in his NFL career is 3,500. Because I believe it's like around 3,100, it may be a little bit more upwards. But if you can get somewhere around 3,500 and just give him more opportunities to pass, it then makes people more fearful of what Lamar Jackson can do, because if you're around that region, that shows, hey, we're not afraid to sling the ball at any opportunity. Maybe you give more of those RPOs that you see that Patrick Mahomes does a whole gosh darn amount of the time. You give more opportunities to where he can still use his leg, but show that he's got that gun of an arm. He can do a lot of great things. It's just, will the Baltimore Ravens give him that opportunity? That's the big thing that will be the hang-up this season.
Yeah, no, I think we can agree that they are just a couple of adjustments away, and maybe a weapon or two away, which they might have this year, but definitely a couple of adjustments on offense away from being really, really good and competing for the best and the top spots in the AFC. All right, coming up next on the afternoon sports drive, we'll round out this first hour, and we're gonna hit on one of Levi's favorite players, if not his favorite player of all time, Tim Tebow, and what Trevor Lawrence had to say about him coming up next on the afternoon sports drive.
Showed you true colors, I don't like what I see. Story keeps changing, I know what that means. Know what that means, I know what that means. How'd you go from being that somebody I believed into being someone doubting me behind the scenes? Can't forgive it, sorry that I ain't never received. I mean, least you could've done was gave me an apology. But you're so prideful, yeah, prideful. Taking what you need, then blame it on me, man, that's all.
Welcome back into the afternoon sports drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler and Levi Peckinpah getting you into your Memorial Day weekend. We have the Kansas State-Texas Tech game in a 7-2 score. Kansas State on top in the top of the ninth, just now getting started in that inning as we're nearing 4 o'clock. So you're looking probably at about a 4:45-ish, potentially 5 o'clock start for OSU baseball. Going to get pushed back here just a little bit, just a heads up there. OSU softball will get first pitch underway in just about 5 minutes here in Stillwater. I'm live at Bad Brad's Barbecue. And no matter what your plans are, don't forget that Bad Brad's has those meats by the pound. They've got the sides by the pint or the quart, and they're perfect takeaways for your getaways. They're open tonight until 9 p.m. if you want to come in. You can watch all the baseball and softball action. They've got a bunch of big TVs here. You can see that and have whatever barbecue you want. Drive-thru is back open tomorrow at 7 a.m. for breakfast and all day from 11 to 9 for dine-in, takeout, and, of course, the drive-thru. And just a heads up, they will be closed on Sunday and Monday so that they can enjoy Memorial Day weekend, as we all will as well. So don't try to come in those days. They will not be here. All right, so we had another story out of Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence finally had a chance, Levi, to kind of give his 2 cents on the whole Tim Tebow thing. You know, it seems like everybody else has gotten a chance to talk about it. We haven't really heard from Trevor Lawrence, but he kind of made his rounds here with the media recently, and this is what he had to say about Tim Tebow. He said, quote, "I don't know if you're going to find a better guy to have in your locker room. He's in great shape. He looks great. He's been out there practicing with us the last 2 days. These 3 practices in, he looks great, and he's running around well, picks it up quick. Mentally, he's in a great spot. Being a quarterback and playing in the NFL for a number of years, he kind of gets the NFL offense, pro-style offense systems. He picks them up easy, so he's coming along great. That's just a guy you want on your team and a guy you want to be around." So glowing reviews from the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft. And I'm telling you, Levi, in case people still don't know by now, Trevor Lawrence is the biggest winner out of this whole Tim Tebow issue, this whole Tim Tebow discussion. It's not Tebow, it's Trevor. And Urban Meyer, I'm telling you, I mean, this was so well done and put together by him with this strategy and the idea of let's take some of the pressure off of our number 1 pick, because what usually happens with rookie quarterbacks, the media is all over them. Right, I mean, you know, you got your hot takes everywhere. You got people pressuring you to say stuff in interviews and things like that. They're all over them. They're already putting a cap on what you can or can't do in your rookie year. None of that has happened with Trevor Lawrence. And if it has, it's been completely silenced because all the focus is on a guy like Tim Tebow. It's like people have forgotten completely about the number 1 overall first pick here in this draft. And Urban Meyer, again, it was behind it this whole time. And like I was telling you, in case you haven't seen those Tim Tebow pictures, anybody out there listening to this,
jacked.
you gotta go check him out. Tim Tebow is absolutely ripped. Looks like he could get out there on the field right now and catch some passes and maybe even break through a few tackles with them too. So, but I'm telling you, once Trevor Lawrence finally said that, it kind of confirmed the whole. And I bet a part of him would have liked to say, you know, it's been great. I haven't been haggled by the media. I haven't had to deal with any of this crazy first-year stuff that some of these other players told me to watch out for when it comes to all that. You know why? Because it's been deflected by Tim Tebow and Urban Meyer, and they've done a great job of keeping him, really focused on the offense, which I would have to imagine for Trevor Lawrence is a great feeling, knowing that he's going to have a chance to be even more focused than he maybe would have been without all these side distractions, thanks to a guy like Tim Tebow, and it's only going to benefit him in the long run.
Yeah, because thanks to Tim Tebow, the only other quote that I've really heard from Trevor Lawrence is him talking about how he's trying to compete with Gardner Minshew for best hair. That's the only other thing I've seen, which I'm sorry, Trevor, Gardner Minshew has you beat there. That hair is gorgeous. But it is definitely a benefit to have Tim Tebow because he, throughout his whole career, has just been a media darling. And I think that's finally I've came around to accept. Is Tim Tebow on this squad, even though I'd rather have another tight end here, it's truly not hurting much because we don't even know if he's going to end up on the final roster or whatever.
Exactly. I tried to. Isn't that what I tried to tell you last time we talked about? I said, what hurt does it do? And it's not doing anything. In fact, it's doing the opposite, and it's giving this team interest, and it's taking the heat off of Trevor Lawrence.
And a new way to also look at it is it's technically, even though he's trying to play tight end, it's also a mentor to Trevor Lawrence because you think, what?
Big time.
Tim Tebow being a mentor? Well, you also got to think about it. He has won a playoff game for Denver before Peyton Manning came in, and it's one of those playoff wins that go down in history as like, how in the world did that happen? But he has the experience in the NFL, and he's basically done whatever he's wanted to. And I'm happy for the man because in any form of sport or anything that he's wanted to do in his life, people have always doubted him, and he's been able to make it happen. And so he is the big motivational, big success story out of the NFL that truly, whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. And for what it seems like, if the dude just seems like a genuine type of person. Maybe a little bit kind of likes the media a little bit. But besides that, it just seems like to teammates, he might just be a genuine dude. And it's just how we are right now. We are picking at the Tim Tebow story because to see Tim Tebow back in the league after not being in for almost a decade is kind of crazy. But I don't think it's going to hurt anything with the teammates. The only thing that it's just in my mind is you could give it to an actual tight end. But if he ends up working out in the NFL, then I get to shut my mouth because there's a good shot. Well, not a good shot, but there's a shot that he turns out to be something like what Taysom Hill has been, of where you have him as a gadget guy to be a tight end. You could put him in as a QB spot and do something crazy, running back, wide receiver, whatever. Because the dude looks like he's built like a freight train right now. He looks like he's about 240, 250 down to be a tight end. So
yeah, his size is unbelievable.
Like, the man's biceps are bigger than my head and your head combined. Like, it's big. Like, the man looks like he's ready to be back in the game of football after being able to fulfill one of his other dreams of playing some baseball. So I think we're in the right direction with Tim Tebow. I think it's just kind of like myself and others. He gets the media spotlight because he's always had the media spotlight wherever he's went. And it's a great thing for Trevor Lawrence because you'd figure with the number 1 overall pick and everybody ever since he was young saying that, yes, it's almost like he's the chosen one. And we've almost completely forgot about it because Tim Tebow has been able to take almost all of the heat away from Trevor Lawrence being the number 1 overall pick because the man can just attract media like moths to a flame. So it's great for Trevor Lawrence. He's the one that benefits the most because it seems like going into this, he has no pressure on him at all. Because for one thing, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. But two, whatever he did have, Tim Tebow took it off and put the spotlight on him. And I guess this is one great time where Tim Tebow, being the media hog, helps a teammate.
Yeah, and that's right. You're spot on with the whole, it's taking the pressure off, and that's huge for a rookie quarterback. It doesn't matter if you're the first overall pick or not. It's huge to be able to go in and feel comfortable in that system, feel comfortable with what you're doing, and not be distracted or worried about other things, outside sources, things like that. And you got a guy like Tim Tebow that really acts as a huge deflector to all that, and that's big time. Coming up next on the Afternoon Sports Drive, hour number 2, and we will get into some buy or sell. Another update real quick on where Oklahoma State baseball is going to get started. You got 2 outs in the top of the 9th, Kansas State and Texas Tech, so they still have another half inning to play, most likely inching closer to a 5 o'clock Central start around there, so they kind of be aware and heads up on that. If you're looking for that game to start right now, that's not going to be the case. We'll come back and get going here a little bit more on the Afternoon Sports Drive live from Bad Brad's after this.
And I don't know how we make it out when we make out on the low. Even if it rains, you'd rather make it snow. Both you and me know we gotta let it go. Laying on the ground, wondering why it's so cold. How we make it out when we make out on the low. Even if it rains, you'd rather make it snow. Both you and me know we gotta let it go. Laying on the ground, wondering why it's
Welcome
so
back.
cold.
This is the Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. It's hour number 2. Patrick Wheeler and Levi Peckinpah with you on this Friday afternoon, heading into the Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully you've got some big plans to enjoy. It should be a fun one. But whatever you are doing, don't forget to grab some Bad Brad's. That's where I am today on this lovely Friday. If you're staying in town for the holiday weekend, you can get Bad Brad's Barbecue, of course, for dining in or taking it on home. If you have family or friends over, you can call Bad Brad's and have them get you everything you want ready to go for your Memorial Weekend get-together, maybe out on the patio, family reunion at the picnic, at the park, all that good stuff. Make sure you give them a call or come in and order. They have the best barbecue around, and it's not even close. Over here at Bad Brad's 5302 West 6th, I'm sitting at their beautiful whiskey bar, full-service bar, everything you want. I promise you, you're going to be able to find any type of drink that you need. They will take care of you here. It is really something to see with everything they've got going on. Plus, to mix in with all the best barbecue you're going to find, too, it's a win-win situation. To get started in this second hour, we're going to get into some buy or sell.
Are you buying?
I'd buy that for $1.
Or are you selling?
You'll pick up the phone and you'll sell, sell, sell.
This is Buy or Sell on the Afternoon Sports Drive.
Make money, money, make money.
It's Buy or Sell, Afternoon Sports Drive. Triple Play Sports Radio, Patrick Wheeler and Levi Peckinpah. All right, Levi, so Julio Jones is on the move. Right, he started off this week being the big story in the news. He decided to tell old Shannon Sharp there that he was, in fact, out of Atlanta. There's kind of been a little die down on that. There wasn't a lot of word on whether or not he even knew he was live on that show. So that was an interesting story, no doubt. But he basically did confirm what we've all known. He's probably on his way out. And with that being said, there's been a lot of rumors about, okay, what's going to be offered to get Julio Jones. And the big question has been that there's been at least one team, maybe two, that are willing to or have already had the idea of offering a first-round pick. So buy or sell that in the trade with whatever team it is, Julio Jones right now in his career is worth a first-round pick in return.
Ooh, that is a big toss-up. Because the main thing that's going to
that's a tough one.
the main thing you're going to revolve around Julio is if he's healthy, he's easily worth it. When he's healthy, he is usually almost 1,000 yards guaranteed when healthy. The problem is he? I really just don't know anymore. Because we've seen at some points where he just seems fine to a point, and then then a couple games later, automatically injured, and then he seems like he's out for the rest of the season. I mean, I had that personally. I personally know that for fantasy.
Yep.
But if he's healthy, I think easily at least worth one first, maybe even like you throw in like a fifth and a seventh or something like that, or maybe like a defensive player. But yeah, if healthy, buy. If not healthy, sell. But I'm going to assume he's healthy. I'll buy.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is when you look at what Julio does bring to the table, it's like we've talked about. He's like an automatic 1,000-yard receiver, and I still think right now, I know he's 32 and he's dealing with some injuries, but I still think he's a top 10 guy in the league. He just has that ability, not as elite as he used to be, but still just an incredible talent. And you have to look at the teams that would be involved, and I would be willing to really give up a first-round pick if I'm a win-now team. And most of the teams that have been in the discussion for getting Julio Jones are win-now teams. The Niners absolutely are. The Titans are for sure. The Patriots are kind of iffy. I know they want to get back to that, but the question is, do they have that ability to right now? The Niners do and the Titans do, no doubt. A couple other teams that are thrown into the mix that we've heard of. I mean, that would be, because if you think about it, you're like, all right, if we're going to win now, that's our goal, is to get to the playoffs, win a Super Bowl. Julio Jones, like you said, if he's healthy, he's going to help us do that. A first-round pick that we grab most likely isn't going to be a huge reason why we're getting to the postseason or advancing. So that's something that I think is got to be in play too. If I'm buying for this team, and if I'm looking at that idea, then I'm thinking to myself, all right, if we're going right now, then yeah, he's worth it because he certainly is one of the best still available in the game. He doesn't come around very often. A guy like Julio Jones isn't on the market very often. So I would be willing to do it. I know there's a lot of people I've seen in response to that. It's like, no way, he's not worth a first rounder. You can't trust if he's going to be healthy. So it's certainly a risk involved, as you know. I mean, you could toss away a potential future first-round pick there, and he could end up playing, half a season. You just don't know. Now, it can be that way with anybody, but there's a lot of talk because what happens with Julio is it's not just, he hasn't missed a ton of games in his career. Right. It's kind of been the timing of those games. And there's been multiple games where he's started and hasn't been able to play all the way through due to an injury. So that kind of clouds it up a little bit. But if I'm a GM right now and he's available, I've got my squad ready to go, and we could use maybe one more receiver. Yeah, if that's the asking price, I'll throw away a defensive guy in the first-round pick and get him on our team.
Yeah, because if you look at the majority of these teams, they're just one wide receiver away. They're one big piece away, and so why not trade away a first-round pick, little defensive player, and get, when healthy, one of the best wide receivers in the league? That's easy. That should be an easy decision that almost anybody should make. And it's not like he had an A.J. Green drop-off where after being out for a year, because A.J. Green literally dropped off a cliff last year. And when Julio came back in from injury, he looked like Julio. He looked like he was still one of the best wide receivers in the league. So I think to me it should be a buy if healthy. I think it would be too easy to just get a guy like Julio and then turn around and you now have one of the most dynamic wide receiver cores in the NFL. Easy. But
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
I will move now to my first buy or sell. I'll stick with the NFL. I'll throw out my NBA one to end us off. But we were talking about the whole Baltimore situation, and I'm one of those guys still trying to figure out who's going to be the breakout wide receiver. So I'll throw out one of the targets for you, and I want to see what you think. Buy or sell out of all the wide receivers for this upcoming season, Devin Duvernay will be the guy to break out and have a good year in the Baltimore Ravens system.
Yeah, that's interesting because I've seen a lot of reports coming out of the Ravens that he is actually going to maybe be your guy that is in a kind of a battle for playing time with actually Tylan Wallace from what they've seen so far, because the Ravens are actually really, they're set with Marquise Brown as still being number one. I think that's potentially a mistake. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how long that's going to last by any means, but he is still the number one guy. You throw Sammy Watkins in there, Rashad Bateman, and you have to understand that with this offense and how little they do throw it, they're only going to keep probably 6 wide receivers on the roster at one time, and that's going to be those 4 that I just mentioned. And you're going to have Tylan Wallace on the team, Rashad Bateman, obviously, as I talked about, and when Duvernay is going to make the team. But is he going to be the guy that ends up playing more than, for instance, Tylan Wallace? And I think that those two are really at the battle spot right now for more reps, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. Because Duvernay, if you look at them, they're really comparable, and there's a lot of similarities in their size, a little bit in their game too, and Duvernay is probably a bit more explosive, I would say, than Tylan Wallace, but Tylan, we know, is so good at being able to go up and get a football really over anybody, so that's kind of what he has over Duvernay at this point, and that's why I think that when you're the Ravens, you're kind of weighing them out right now, saying, Duvernay, I mean, he's got what, over 170 catches in his career, 16 touchdowns in 4 years back when he was in college, and you had Wallace who had over 200 and obviously blew it out of the numbers with yards and touchdowns, so you're like, we know the success is there, that's for sure, and Duvernay only had 20 catches last year, so he hasn't done a ton to show that he can be the guy, so I'll sell that he's going to be the breakout. I don't want to lean towards Hollywood Brown. I want to lean towards Rashad Bateman. I think he's the guy that's going to have a chance to really break out, because when he gets looks early, he's going to make things happen. I think it would be a big time disappointment and a shock if he didn't make a lot of big plays when he gets the opportunity. So let me buy Rashad Bateman instead, and I really think that Duvernay is kind of on the hot seat in terms of he's got a guy now with extreme competition coming his way in Tylan Wallace, who may just take over some of the reps that he gets if he continues to do well in practices and training camp.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines, because there's a lot of guys that are honestly on very close to even footing. Duvernay and Tylan Wallace, definitely. I mean, they're pretty close in stature. I give the edge to Tylan Wallace. Plus, Devin Duvernay at Texas never really jumped off of the score sheets and never really jumped off as a big performer guy on the field. He had some good moments, but nothing that stood out to me. But Tylan Wallace, of course, did. Yeah, I think Rashad Bateman should be the guy. I don't understand why Hollywood Brown is the number one. He's a slot guy. It should
I don't either.
They want to play him like Tyreek Hill. He's not Tyreek Hill. He ain't it, no. Chief. But he would be a phenomenal slot, and that's not a slight against him. Some of the best wide receivers in the league are slot guys. Slot wide receivers perform out the gym half the time. But Baltimore wants to be stupid at the moment. That's them. Rashad Bateman should be the way they go. It should be. The line should rock like this. It should be Rashad Bateman, wide receiver number 1, Sammy Watkins, wide receiver number 2. Your slot should be, at that point, Hollywood Brown. I'm trying to remember. Then you got Tylan Wallace, Devin Duvernay. That should be your core.
Bateman and Miles Boykin potentially, too.
Yeah, Miles Boykin as well. But Bateman should be in there as your number 1 because he was debated on the whole time of being a potential number 1 overall wide receiver type of guy. because he has a little bit more of a stature, and he just looks like overall a really great talent. And he fell into the Ravens' hands. Now, I just hope the Ravens don't fumble it. It's the one thing we were talking about their systems is they're not in the right frame of mind when they're trying to make these systems, because weirdly enough, this reminds me of John Gruden trying to play Henry Ruggs as the number 1 overall wide receiver. Like, Henry Ruggs is a good guy, but he's a speedster out the gym slot guy. That's what he's built for. That's what Hollywood Brown is built for. You make these guys your slots, and then you get solid starting caliber wide receivers that you put at your 1 and 2, and then you let your speedster be the slot. But I just, for some reason, it's not getting through these guys that these speedy guys can't be number 1 overall wide receivers. They're not Tyreek Hill. They don't have not only the speed, but then the agility to go with it, and then the catching ability to go with it. They are still missing a lot of key components that Tyreek Hill has, and they really want Tyreek Hill. They're not Tyreek Hill right now. Maybe he won't ever be Tyreek Hill. So you need to think realistically as a wide receiver core, who would be the best number 1 wide receiver? And to me, just when you look at it, it should be Rashad Bateman, and then really close behind Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Marquise Brown, they're really doing a whole square peg and a round hole thing right now. All right, I'm going to flip over to college football, because as we talked about Oklahoma State, and we talked about their release times yesterday, kickoff times for their non-conference games. Of course, that was for everybody that got those times too. And Oklahoma made the news because athletic director Joe Castiglione was not happy with the kickoff time with Nebraska and Oklahoma being set at 11 a.m. He was so unhappy, in fact, that he released a full-on statement from the school saying how disappointed they were in Fox and not being able to get a better time, a prime time slot here. Instead, it's 11 a.m. So buy or sell that Joe Castiglione is in the right with this argument here. Is his argument that, you know what, this is a huge game, we should have it in the evening, we're Oklahoma. Does that make sense? Does he have the right to complain about this?
Let me just go back in my memory rings for a second. When was the last time Nebraska's been relevant? Because that to me clears my mind. No, it really doesn't matter. This is shouting a square peg into a round hole. Like, this does not matter one bit of the way. Yes, the rivalry between OU and Nebraska, like, oh goodness, that could be something. OU is going to beat the paste out of Nebraska. It's going to be a bloodbath. Plus, I'm kind of within the same ballpark that we talked about. Like, if I'm a college football guy, like, 11 a.m.'s honestly a pretty good time slot, because that means you're starting off the day. The first piece of football that someone's going to wake up and watch is you playing. Like, prime time is great, but I mean, you get one of the first games off in the morning, like, and you're the first eyes that somebody locks onto you. Like, I would almost rather have a 11 o'clock game. But I mean, prime time is also really good, but no. I mean, yes, Oklahoma is going to be one of the best teams in the nation this year. I mean, it's not even comparable to like something in the Big 12. OU's the team to beat. They are coming back with stacked players, and they're bringing in stacked players. But you're going against Nebraska for what seems like, honestly, for like the whole 2000s has been in a slump. Nebraska is not what they used to be. They're not anywhere where they used to be. So it's not going to be a primetime game. If this was like a really good Nebraska squad and we were going to have something where we're sitting on the edge of our seats, I would vouch for it as well. I would understand being upset. But this is a Nebraska squad that they are trying to get on the comeback, and they're trying to eventually get to the point where they seem some type of relevant. But unfortunately right now, they are the furthest away from it. So you have no box to stand on if you're OU.
Yeah, and that's why I'm kind of in the partial buy and sell, because I think if it were a better opponent,
Yes.
I would certainly understand that argument a lot more because, I mean, Oklahoma's been really good for quite a while. That's no secret. We all know that. But, if you go back to 2019, okay, they played 5 consecutive 11 a.m. games. I mean, that was when you get those going, it's like, man, what we would do for a primetime game.
Yeah.
And they're one of the teams that Fox would and everybody else, of course, would love to get national exposure as if they need any. But, you would love to see them, if you're that TV station, being put in prime time. But there's just something about primetime games. We talked about this. I mean, there always has been. I think from a player's, if you were to take a poll for the players, that they don't want to play at 11 a.m. I feel like it's just not as easy to get hyped for that. And Castiglione was trying to use the excuse of, well, we have a lot of fans that travel a long ways to come watch these games, and putting it at 11 a.m., puts a wrench into all that. And I'm like, I don't know. I think they would still find a way to get there and everything. And I'm with you. I mean, Nebraska sucks. I see why Fox is doing it to correlate, with their big noon show. They've got Bob Stoops as a part of it too, keeping with the whole Oklahoma theme. But you look at everything else, there's not a lot of big-time channels and TV stations that are thrilled and really want to expose a ton of Big 12 football, right?
Yeah.
They just aren't. It's if Fox has that deal with them, and everything else, it's SEC, and that's pretty much it. So I can understand a little bit where he's coming from in terms of wanting to have more of a primetime game, although I would say that he should make an argument to have that throughout the whole season and maybe pick the opponent wiser. He's talking about this whole OU Nebraska rivalry like it's still the 1970s. Well, I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
So I'm not really in agreement with the idea that, look, this opponent's going to be a great game. We're going to have – no, you're not. Oklahoma's going to dominate. We know that's probably not going to be a ton of competition. So maybe pick the poison a little differently there. Maybe pick your battle as well a little bit differently. But I can kind of see where he's coming from. So I'm kind of in the middle on that. He does have the right to complain about some of it, but again, make it a better game overall, then I'll give you some more sympathy.
Man, if they're playing like a North Carolina and Indiana, I mean, if they're playing a big opponent, then you get the benefit of the doubt. But you're not. You're playing a team that, if this was a long time ago, this would be entertaining. But no, it's not. You're going to beat the pace out of Nebraska. If you don't, you're going to get mocked. But you should be able to easily thrash Nebraska like how everybody else is most likely going to thrash Nebraska this upcoming season. So, no, you don't really have the benefit of the doubt here, and you're not going to get everybody else's sympathy. And I understand. I'm completely with you. If this is a better opponent, I give him it. This should easily be put to prime time, but it's not. You're going in there and you're going to make some kids cry. That's what's going to happen. It's not going to be a fun game, and Oklahoma's going to get a big win. You're going to see Spencer Rattler. Oh yeah, we're going to throw him up there. Heisman. That's what it is. It's the start of the Spencer Rattler Heisman campaign. That's what it's going to be.
Absolutely.
But I will move on to my last buy or sell, and I'll move over to the NBA. Because there's been some interesting games in the NBA playoffs. The most interesting thing, I believe it's the Miami Heat right now are down 3-0 right now to the Milwaukee Bucks. So this is contingent. Buy or sell, if the Miami Heat get swept, the Miami Heat blow up that team that they have right now. And you can put the terms of what you want by blow up. You can say blow up by like they're trading everybody, or blow up by they trade a lot of the bench pieces or little cogs that they think don't fit in with the image that they have. But buy or sell that they blow up the team if they get swept.
Yeah, they're getting dominated in this series. I mean, and it's kind of a complete reversal of what they did to the Bucks last year, right? When they won 4-1, and the Bucks were that top seed, and it's just been completely reversed. You look at what's been the issue. Well, they haven't been able to penetrate, and they've had a lot of lanes stuffed up by Giannis, and of course Brook Lopez is playing his tail off too, and that they haven't been able to get a ton going on. I mean, Bam Adebayo. He's averaging. I saw this number when he's been guarded by Brook Lopez. He's averaging .74 points per play. I mean, it's really bad. Like, he's being shut down, and they can't get anything going there. And so I guess I would buy that they're gonna maybe blow up is, like you said, too broad of a term, because I don't think they're going to just dismantle this team and start from scratch. Obviously, they know what they have in this squad, and I feel like they have to be a little bit perplexed about where they are compared to where they were last year in this same spot. Jimmy Butler, we know, is still really good. I mean, you've got all these guys that you're able to say, look, if you saw this team on paper, you'd be like, why are they not being more competitive? They've got too many really good stars on this squad overall to not be putting up more of a fight, but it really has been one-sided. So, I guess I'll buy in a way that they're going to probably get rid of some pieces here and there, and you're going to see, obviously, some new faces come in. But when you've got Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero and Oladipo, Bam is really good. He's just been shut down. You go down the list of guys that they have, and I think they're going to end up maybe making a couple of decent big moves possibly in this offseason especially if they get swept. That was your thing, your question. This isn't going to look good, and there's certainly going to be that call for, man, we just got swept by the Bucks. We got to do something. We got to fix this team. The fans are going to be like, get everybody new in here. We need a new culture. We need a new look and all this stuff. So there will definitely be some moves, but overall, I guess I would sell a giant blow up of this team and then just kind of start from scratch type of thing.
Yeah, I would sell a giant blow up, but I would buy you see a good chunk of like role players traded to try to get some better guys in here. Like, I don't think Iggy's going to be on the squad. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Tyler Hero doesn't end up on the squad because he has not been hitting his stretch that well. You might see Goran Dragic go. You probably have to replace a good chunk of these guys. I would keep the core of Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, but besides that, everybody else is fair game, in my opinion. But that is, again, all up to the eyes of Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra. But if you're going to get dismantled by Milwaukee, for one thing, I think this shows how, for one, I'm glad I had my confidence in Milwaukee to put them in the NBA Finals. But that shows you, like, as a squad, who you really are, because Miami's coming off of the bubble finals appearance where everybody's like, oh, Miami finally made it. And you're now getting crushed by Milwaukee after you beat them 4-1. This is the piece of humble pie that Jimmy Butler receives, that the Miami Heat receive, takes them off their high horse and realizes, all right, we have to round the troops up and we have to go back to square one of their plan of what they had and figure out where to go. I'm going to buy a little move somewhere. I'm not going to buy like they're going to dismantle the team. There's no way that's going to happen. But you're going to have to make some new moves to go through and navigate this weird Eastern Conference. So I will buy a move. Also, I'm going to buy. I'm also going to buy a sweep. I think I'm still in the full ballpark of Milwaukee is the team walking out of the Eastern Conference and going to the NBA Finals. Still on the. I'm still on that.
I'm with you too. This series is over. A quick update here on OSU softball. Top of the second, they lead 2-1. Allison February just dropped a 2-run bomb. They lead 2-1 over Texas. The Texas Tech matchup with Kansas State just ended just a few minutes ago, so probably again looking about a 5 o'clock start for OSU baseball. We come back on the afternoon sports drive. Well, we knew about Aaron Rodgers not showing up for OTAs, but there's been quite a few other position players joining in on that too. Find out what that's all about next here on the afternoon sports drive.
Whoa. Staring as I go, I gave until my soul hurt, never told them so. They're watching as I fall.
Welcome back in Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler, Levi Peckinpah, Friday afternoon, getting you into your Memorial Day weekend. OSU baseball probably about 20 minutes or so away from starting off their game against West Virginia. Softball is in the early stages of their game, up 2-1 right now over Texas in Game 1 of that Super Regional. We're live at Bad Brad's, and if you are having family or friends over, you can make sure to call in and then take Bad Brad's home for you. with the Memorial Weekend get-together, and whatever you're doing, they make the perfect pairing for your food. Take care of it this weekend. If you're getting out of town, you can take them with you on the lake, camping, state park, wherever you're getting into, wherever you're going this holiday weekend. Make sure you grab Bad Brad's Barbecue and take them along for the ride as well. You will be happy you did. Trust me, they have the best barbecue around. Open today, by the way, until 9 p.m., so you can come in and get dinner right around that time coming up here as well. Patrick Wheeler and Levi Peckinpah here with you. So we all know about Aaron Rodgers not showing up to OTAs. I mean, in fact, we even know where he is, right? We've seen the videos of him in Hawaii doing whatever he's doing, living his best life apparently, and not showing up to OTAs. So, yeah, it's, we understand that. That doesn't surprise anybody. What might surprise some people is that not just 1, 2, even 3, the entire Packers wide receiver core did not show up to OTAs as well. It's not just Aaron Rodgers. And when I saw this, I'm thinking, okay, the question is, should the Packers be worried at this point? And the thing is, veterans, as we know, don't have to show up to early OTAs. We know that. That's not uncommon. But what is uncommon is that an entire position group doesn't show up. And I would be crazy to think that this isn't some sort of message. And I really do believe, Levi, that Aaron Rodgers is behind this whole thing. He's pulling the strings here, and it should probably worry the Packers a little bit that he can convince them to also stay out and ultimately, potentially lose some money too. I mean, that's going to be the thing. If they're willing to go as far as to lose out on some incentives, then you have a major issue on your hands. I think that there already is, but the Packers know it's maybe taken to the next level if they can't get their guys here because, now with no Aaron Rodgers, you're having to get reps with Jordan Love, and he doesn't have anyone to throw to. Mm-hmm. You're trying to prep him, and heck, this could be his year for all we know. Yeah. And he doesn't have anybody to throw to right now. It's a makeshift group of wide receivers out there. But the big story out of this is that I think Aaron Rodgers holds so much weight and so much clout with these guys that and Davante Adams is the big one. Everybody else, you'd be like, all right, if we lost one of those guys, that stinks. But we still got Davante Adams. Now, Davante Adams, we already know that he said initially, look, if Aaron Rodgers isn't here, I would definitely have to rethink some things. And this could be the first sign that he is, in fact, rethinking some things based off what Aaron Rodgers said about management and stuff like that, too. But I could just imagine Aaron Rodgers, this whole time, he's been the guy that has intentionally had a lot of this information leaked. The bomb that was dropped that he didn't want to play with the Packers again. All that stuff, the intentional videos that have been put out there of him basically flipping off the organization, and now he's got it all wrapped up again where he's told his guys, Davante Adams and company, hey, if you want to make a statement and something that could benefit us all and maybe help us, to eventually get down the road and win a lot more and potentially get to a Super Bowl and everything goes good, then don't show up. Do what I'm doing. And I would have to think that's probably not an easy decision, especially for some of the guys on the depth chart that are a little bit lower. I mean, it's not Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers money that all these guys are making. So that's got to be a tough decision. But at this point, I really do think that if you're the wide receiver group, you are put in a corner and you're having to pick sides.
Yeah, you're definitely having to pick sides. But you got to look at the majority of the situations. Aaron Rodgers has gone to bed, I feel like, for almost every one of these wide receivers at some point. Even though I haven't focused on all of them, the ones that I remember the most, I know we've seen it. I don't know how many times he's gone to bat for Davante Adams. So I've been the one to say that he's gone out so many times for Allen Lazard and has helped build him up to be something. Aaron Rodgers has helped made all these players who they are and brought them up to the ability that they have. Without Aaron Rodgers, these guys aren't who they are. So I completely understand why they side with Aaron Rodgers. And honestly, I agree with it. I mean, because from the way everything is going, from what everybody is saying, from whether it's professionals, other professional NFL players, to retired NFL players, to analysts, it just is that Green Bay is so in the wrong with all of this. And the only way it seems that they're going to be able to fix this is it's either, we've said it so many times, it's the trade Aaron Rodgers or you got to fire Gutekunst and figure everything out. The more and more this plays out, I'm starting to fall towards the side of you might want to fire Gutekunst And then you might want to purge a front office, because from the way and the droplings and the seeds that are planted, like, this seems like it's a front office that might be completely out of touch with a team. Because from everything that's floated around, it just seems like this team together as a whole seems like it's okay. From the reports out, it seems like Aaron Rodgers is all right with Jordan Love. It seems like they get along. But we know that he's probably not okay with the pick of Jordan Love. That you could have used that for another player on the team that would have helped out. Jordan Love as a player and as a person, he's probably fine with. He's probably a chill dude. But as something to contribute towards the team, wasn't the right way to go, and Aaron Rodgers definitely frustrated. But he's been frustrated with so many things with Green Bay. So honestly, if I'm the top of Green Bay, if you're not only able to get, if the top QB is frustrated with a lot of things, don't forget, we've also seen David Bakhtiari. I remember, wasn't he with Aaron Rodgers when they went to the Kentucky Derby? I believe.
I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now you have a wide receiver core with him. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, one of the best left tackles in the NFL, one of the best wide receiver cores in the NFL. All, it seems like, out of protest of Green Bay not showing up to anything. Like, next you just need your offensive line. You need Robert Tonyan to just then all, and if you get like the whole offensive side of the ball to just say, nah, we're not coming, maybe they might finally listen. But I might, if I'm the top of Green Bay, and you're seeing your basically whole offensive side of the team protest, that might tell you you have a lot bigger problems than just a GM.
Yeah, and I honestly think though that they're not gonna fire Gutekunst. I don't think they will. And a big part of it is that they know, like we've talked about when this all came down, they don't want to set that precedent. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't want to get into the idea of players run the show so much so that they can say fire the GM and we'll fire the GM. I just think that's a slippery slope that they're trying to avoid.
Is Green Bay getting closer and closer? Are they getting closer on the boundaries of they might be getting close to Bill O'Briening themselves? Maybe putting the wrong guy with too much power, and then you have to back him because he's been the guy with power for so long. He's been in the organization for so long. The Bill O'Brien thing was a little bit different because it was a weird scenario how he ended up with it. But maybe you put the power in the wrong guy. And this draft class was okay, but the previous one where all you really drafted was A.J. Dillon as a guy that could be used for the team. Like, it seems like this might be something that spirals it to where you have a lot of people that will want out of Green Bay real quick.
Yeah, no, I think they are certainly tiptoeing a fine line here. It's not a good sign for them if all the wide receivers are falling in line and not showing up. And you know, we go back to what he said in ESPN with Kenny Mayne. He's like, oh, it's a philosophy thing. It's a players thing. It's all about the players. It's all about the players. Well, he's sticking to his word because all these players are falling in line. All right. Aaron Rodgers says this, we're going to back him up, and it's a dangerous thing for the Packers right now. They are in another twine twisted up right now, so we'll see what comes out of it. Coming back up on the afternoon sports drive, we'll finish up the show here and tell you what we learned on Triple Play Sports Radio.
I am a sinner who's probably gonna sin again. Lord, forgive me.
Sports drive? Yeah, Levi, let it run. Let that run. It's not killing the vibe.
No, not at all.
Because we're here at Bad Brad's on this Friday. And it's a vibe getting into the weekend. Memorial Day weekend is here. Everyone's enjoying it so far. I hope we kicked it off a little bit early. We're doing that here as well because we're at Bad Brad's. And don't forget, this is where you need to be to come in and get all the perfect barbecue coming up for this perfect weekend that you have ahead of you, Memorial Day weekend. And don't forget, they're open tonight until 9 o'clock. Come in and dine in. The drive-thru opens tomorrow at 7 for breakfast all day from 11 to 9. Dine in, take out, drive-thru. Don't forget, they're closed Sunday and Monday for Memorial Day as well. All right, so to finish up the show, we're going to tell you what we learned.
The day is coming to an end. Time to find out if these two got any smarter. Let's find out what the guys learned today on the afternoon sports drive.
Well, I learned something today.
Well, I'll tell you what I learned here in just a second. One final update here for OSU baseball. First pitch is at 5:07 p.m. So that one did officially get moved back just a little bit there, as we mentioned. 5:07 is where you can when you can catch that action on ESPN Plus. Cowgirl softball right now. It's the middle of the third, and OSU leading 2-1 over Texas in Game 1 of the Super Regional. That is also on ESPN. I don't want to say that's on ESPN2. Correct me if I'm wrong, Levi, if you know, but I believe it is available there. If not, it's definitely on the ESPN Family Network, so you can find it. But that's going on right now here in Stillwater, and they lead 2-1. All right, so to finish out the show, said we're going to tell you what we learned. Well, I learned that, Levi, I'm sure you've seen this play. It's been all over the place, Major League Baseball yesterday, but Javier Baez with the Cubs, he has a simple ground out to third base, and the throw goes over to first. They're playing the Pirates, and you would think, all right, no big deal. He's going to tag out. No, that's not the case. Javier Baez runs back to home and gets in a rundown and allows the runner that was on third base to originally come around. He eventually comes around here and scores, and then Javi Baez heads down to first. You're thinking, all right, they still get him out here. No, the throw is wide. He gets into second. The throw comes into second by the Pirates, and that one was wide. It was the wildest play I've ever seen, and everybody is immediately going, man, Javi Baez, what a play. That was absolutely nuts. Oh, my gosh, he's so smart. I'm like, well, hold on here. We shouldn't be giving Javi Baez all the credit like a lot of people like to do. Javier, man, I mean, was it heads up? Maybe, but it's just as equally as dumb by Will Craig to do what he did at first base for the Pirates. I mean, all he had to do was tag him out or just go back and get the ball to the base. I mean, it was a force out at first. The play was over. It was like Will Craig has never played first base before or the game of baseball. I think his mind just went completely shut off there because he was so thrown off by Baez heading back home. But he's got to know where he is. I mean, the run wouldn't have even scored because it was a force out, like we said. And I mean, I don't know how you don't know that. You're in the pros. So as much as we love to, it's Javier Baez. He's so smart, man. Everything he does is just heads up, and he's one of the best. All right, calm down. Will Craig made a really dumb move that really aided in that. This whole thing would not have been any type of talk like this. If Will Craig would have simply tagged him out, it would have been like, what the heck was Javier Baez doing? Running back to home? That was dumb. But instead, it's, he's so smart. It's no. Will Craig is dumb. That's what we should be talking about. That was one of the dumbest plays I've ever seen. And if I were the Pirates, if I were the manager, I would be losing my mind over that, not knowing basic, simple rules of baseball or what to do in that situation. It was a wild play, though, nonetheless.
Yeah, that is insane. Yeah, that's one of those where it just seems like the brain turned off for a little bit, and you're just sitting here at the end. Why did you do this? Why are you the way that you are? Just why at the end of the point. I've got two. One of them is kind of a little bit serious for tonight for the NBA playoffs, and the other thing is just, again, straight out hilarious. Serge Ibaka is not expected to play Game 3 tonight, and he really hasn't been, if he's played at all this series, but he's been dealing with lingering back issues, and that's going to hurt not having Serge Ibaka because the inside and the paint has been a problem for the Clippers to defend. So Luka might be going insane, and you might be seeing a 3-0 tonight for the Mavericks Clippers.
Levi, I can't believe Serge Ibaka's still in the game. Right? Is that just me? I feel like he's been in there forever.
Yeah, he's been in for a while, but maybe these back issues. I hope it doesn't take him out, but man, it back issues took a lot of players' careers, and I really don't want to see that for a guy like Serge Ibaka. I'd rather see him like in it on his own terms. Now time for the hilariosity stuff, because remember yesterday I was talking about Kwame Brown and how he's been going on Instagram and he's been going kind of crazy, saying stuff I can't say on air. Guess who joined him? I don't know if this was a live stream for today or whatever. The reality TV star Judge Joe Brown joined Kwame on one of these. I don't know what's happening anymore. Kwame Brown is going insane, and now Judge Joe Brown has
So
joined
now
in.
he's getting celebrity guests too. Okay, he's evolving.
Yeah, the pick is evolving. Oh no. That's one of those things. He's gonna go from being a bust to now he's gonna be credible, and he's gonna have like a podcast on, like, I don't know what network, but it's gonna be some obscene stuff. But I guess kudos to Kwame Brown, I guess, for evolving or just being able to stay relevant, because man, that's just kind of crazy. I just saw that a little bit ago and I just had a great laugh.
Yeah, that is good stuff, man. He's been all over the place, having a much more fruitful career already as a podcaster, whatever you want to call him, than he was in the NBA.
I'm just gonna call him an insane person. I'll just go
That's
for that.
fine. That's fine.
He's having a better career being a little crazy, but I mean, good for Kwame Brown, I guess. Something good needs to happen for him.
This has been the Afternoon Sports Drive on the Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Everyone have a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. Don't forget to stop by Bad Brad's, and they'll take care of you for all your barbecue needs. And you're going to need it with Memorial Day weekend. It goes hand in hand. So make sure you come check them out over here, 5302 West 6th. And, of course, make sure you tune in. There'll be a lot of Cowboy baseball and softball this weekend, too. So that's always going to be fun to watch, as well as they're in the postseason. And that'll be happening, too, in the coming days.